Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Be a Better You, a chat series which is dedicated to personal branding. It's all about uh, what are you, who are you, and how you can become a better version of yourself. It comes from my journey, the journey that I had in the last couple of years. It kind of transformed me a lot, and I want it to be accessible to everyone out there. So I'm doing these chat series. I think we have a technical issue. It's glitching, but uh, let me just figure out what's going wrong.
No worries.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're back. Sorry about that. So again, coming back, it's about personal branding. It's about how you can be a better version of yourself. And over the past few weeks, we have had chats with different kind of people, emphasizing how personal branding is important to students, professionals, how networking can be a good tool, or how LinkedIn can be a big, good tool for personal branding. So today, I have a public speaking coach with us, Emily. Let's go straight into with her and dive in. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you for having me, Vinesh.
No worries at all. I hope you're enjoying the day today.
I am, definitely. I'm
Yeah,
enjoying time with my little one and my dog at home as well.
absolutely. So a little bit about yourself. What do you do, Emily? And yeah, go for it.
I'm a public speaking coach.
Hmm.
I predominantly help people in tech, and I pretty much help people that either don't like presenting or that feel they're not good enough. And I
Yeah.
help them to be more interesting, more relatable, more engaging, and also to learn to love public speaking.
Mm,
And a lot of what I do is based on storytelling.
nice. So storytelling and public speaking, they go hand in hand. Even though they think, okay, personal storytelling is a different thing, personal branding is
Mm.
public speaking is a different thing. But s- the stories you tell matter a lot. It's not that you can prepare on some topic, some random topic, and you can present there. You have to have that
Mm.
genuine storytelling in you. So how do you define, storytelling and public speaking over here?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I came from a pure maths and a cybersecurity background. So I
Oh,
don't know what
very
a lot
interesting.
of your followers come from, but if you understand what I studied at university, you'll understand that I used to speak in facts and figures. Like that was everything that I dealt with. And when I would do a presentation or anything, when I would do an email, when I would talk to someone, it was very factual.
Hmm.
It was almost like bullet points,
Mm,
if you wanted to translate that into the verbal world.
yeah.
And it's not that engaging. And when I would present to stakeholders at work, I would be met with glazed eyes, and people would sort of just be like, yep, thank you very much. And I perhaps got them to understand a topic,
Mm,
but I never entertained them, I never inspired them, I never influenced them or anything like that.
yeah.
And when I learned about storytelling, all of that changed, because stories are so much more interesting than facts and
Yeah.
figures. Stories can influence people to change their behavior much more than facts and figures. And stories are way more memorable than facts and figures. So
Mm,
as soon as I started to learn about storytelling, the reaction that I would get from people was totally different. And it was something that was really interesting to me because it wasn't something that I was naturally good at.
mm,
It was something that I worked on, and to be honest, today it's still something that I'm conscious about because that's just not my personality
yeah.
style. But yeah, they're different. So you can present without storytelling, but if you present with storytelling, you're gonna engage your stakeholders a lot more, and you will have a much different reaction on their end.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I like how you said, being from a technical background, we go by bullet points. That's our natural
Mm.
tendency. But when you bring a story into that, the game completely changes. By the way, I forgot to
Mhm.
mention, welcome to all our viewers from LinkedIn and YouTube. Please engage us. Please say hi, hello. If not, then it'll be like we are just talking to two. I mean, we're
Yeah,
just two people having a
it'll be us
conversation.
too.
Yeah. So keep it interesting. Please comment, if you have any questions at all, please keep that coming. We will pick that up. By the way, Michael says, bringing the emotion to pure math. That's what you do. So thanks for that,
Yeah.
Michael, and thanks for connecting us as well. Great conversation out there. So let's get into personal branding.
Mm.
What is personal branding for you? I mean, different people have different perspectives of what personal branding is. So what is it for you, Emily?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting topic because I've never been that focused on consciously building a personal brand.
Hmm.
So I mentioned just then that I was conscious about introducing and working on storytelling, but I've never been conscious about like, am I personal branding? What do I need to do for personal branding? But that being said, I have always been quite conscious about something like my reputation.
Hmm.
And so I almost think of personal branding as a bit like, do you know what others say about you when you're not in the room?
Yeah.
And do you know what you want to stand for? And do you feel that they're in alignment, if you want to talk about it that way? So before I had a business, when I was at work, I had a brand. Even if you're not conscious about it, you already have a brand as a person, and you do at points go through phases where you are a bit more conscious of what that brand is, and you can use that to your advantage. Because if you think, let's just say you think that you are really reliable as a person, and you think that you are really friendly, as an example. Now, if you speak to people at your workplace or you ask others, they might not share that same opinion. Perhaps they might say you're reliable, but they would never say that you're friendly. In fact, maybe they think that you are unfriendly just because of the way that you're interacting with people. So I think personal branding is about having some alignment between what you stand for and who you are as a person and what others see of you, if that makes sense.
That's very interesting. I mean, I didn't realize I was building a brand. I mean, I didn't even know what personal brand is. I just kept posting on LinkedIn, and all I wanted was attention. So
Yes.
that's all I wanted. I didn't define it as, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Or I was always also conscious, okay, what are people thinking about this? I mean, am I supposed to say this? Am I not supposed to say that? So,
Yeah.
one point over there, is personal branding just about what others think about you? It's about you as well, right? What do you want to
Correct.
stand about? So
Yeah.
let's talk about that you part. That's
Yeah.
key over here. So your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I completely agree. So, firstly, you need to know yourself and what you stand for. And then, if you are going to be conscious about your personal brand, then you want to make sure that others are seeing that as
Yeah,
well. And so,
absolutely.
clearly, the first aspect has to start with yourself. And it's really interesting because I remember, like, way back when I was a teenager, I remember that as a adult or as a human, you're meant to try and be true to yourself,
Mm,
right? And I remember distinctly having a conversation with my mum at the time saying, how are you meant to be true to yourself when you don't even know who you are? Like,
yeah,
as an adolescent, or even in your early 20s, you don't really know what you stand for. You're still trying to figure yourself out and understand, like, is this really important to me, or what do I stand for? So I think when you're in your teens and when you're in your early 20s, and I don't know, maybe for some people even in the early 30s, you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you like.
mm,
And I know that I distinctly went through some times where I actively sought feedback. So one was, like, what do I think about myself, and what
yeah,
do I want to stand for? But there were times when I also asked others, like, yeah, how do you actually perceive me, and can you tell me the words that you would use? And we actually did this as an exercise at work at one point. But really getting to know what makes you happy and what makes you you. It's not something that you can do overnight. It's something that takes a fair bit of, like, looking inward, to be perfectly honest.
mm,
And it's also something that never ends, because your views and your interests change. And if you like, I can share a little bit of a story of how
yeah. Please,
who I
please do.
am
Yeah.
has changed as well. So way back, if I go back to, like, as a child, everything about me was athletics. So
Oh,
I thought that like, if you had asked me at the time, I would have told you that I wanted to be in the Olympics.
mm,
Like, that was just, it was everything to me. And I think it was everything to me at the time because I was a fairly shy child, and athletics gave me an identity. And
mhm.
it, like, you want to be, like you said, you want attention. Like, that was exactly what it was about for me. It was like, I would come home, and I'm a one of three children, and I have, an older sister and a younger sister, and I would, my parents would always be like, okay, how did you go at that event? Or, generally they'd come with me, but if they didn't, and I'd be like, I won. So it was this really big sense of identity and a sense of pride that I had. And, everyone at school knew me as the, the athlete, because I won state a few times. So that for me was massive. And then I broke my leg.
Oh,
And it was at a pivotal time. I had just won 2 state championships, and I broke my leg, and I couldn't compete the year after. And then it just totally threw me. It wasn't a physical thing. It was more a mental thing. Like, I just thought, I can't get back into hurdles and triple jump.
mm,
Anyway, so I had to pivot, and I had to think, okay, well, if that's not me anymore, and I felt really lost, like, what am I going to do? And so I threw myself into studies. And then I realized, okay, well, what do I like now? Like, what's my passion about? And I realized I love things that are black and white.
mm.
Like, I just loved maths, because I knew if I studied really hard, I could get 100 out of 100. And I knew if I put that same effort into English, I would get like maybe a B if I was lucky, and I would, tear my hair out trying to write an essay. So
Yeah.
I knew I loved maths. And so I followed that love of mathematics and did a pure maths degree, which some people probably think is crazy, but studying pure maths for 3 years. And then I followed that sort of breadcrumb and did cybersecurity, because it was very closely linked. You need to be able to analyze things.
Mm,
There's a lot of rules. It's very black and white. And I did that for about 10 years and loved it, like, full of challenge, so interesting. Yeah, just was right up my alley. However, as I was explaining before, your interests change, and it started to get to the case where that burning passion for security and facts and figures started to be replaced by a love of the power of the mind
mm,
and things like public speaking, like, how do you engage people and how do you interest them and how can you influence them? And so I started to, instead of spending my time maintaining my credentials for my security accreditations, I was spending time outside of work, going to sessions where I could find out about storytelling or something like that.
mm,
And so then I pivoted again, and I started learning about that. And as I started learning about that, I started to share it with other people, because I love helping people. And what I found was I was getting paid really, really well at work, yet I was way more satisfied with what I was doing in my spare time. So
yeah.
doing stuff for free was making me feel so much more whole than my really well-paid corporate career. So I followed that breadcrumb, if that made sense, and then ended up leaving my corporate career to do what I'm doing now, which fills me with so much joy and purpose every single day, because I'm changing other people's lives. So as you can see, I'm still the same person. I love athletics and I love facts and figures, but I also love storytelling. And I think it's about listening to how something makes you feel.
Mm.
And I know, like, that might sound a little bit sort of corny to people, but yeah, I think it's about trying to listen to what makes you feel good and what you feel is a strength of yours and what really interests you, and go for that.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree to that. I mean, that's what happened with me as well. I always thought I was an introvert. I hate talking to people. But now I actually love doing that. And that's one thing that I miss. Even though it's a shutdown time, I thought, okay,
Yeah.
this would be happier time for me. But I'm trying to get online, talk to people, and that's what makes me happy. So absolutely look into
That's
yourself and
interesting.
yeah.
So what is it though? Because yeah, I mean, a lot of people would think, oh, well, if you're an introvert, how are you liking this? But see, things are so multifaceted, aren't they? Like, perhaps you have a really burning curiosity and you love, hearing about people's stories. So yeah, what I would love to know, like, what is it for you? Because I think that can help a lot of other people think, how do you move from that state?
So yeah, for me, by the way, I don't know. We have some technical issues. You might see a bit of lag in between,
Uh,
happening in between. I'm not sure why this is happening. It never happened before, but when we go live, it happens. But I think
yeah.
that's technical issues. That's something we can't run away. But my story is I moved to Melbourne a couple of years back in 2018,
Mhm.
and I had a really bad job hunt over here. So it took me 8 months to find work. And in those 8 months, I did not go for a single coffee catch up or meetup or anything of that sort. I simply can't
Mm.
talk to strangers. But
Yeah.
what I realize now that is that I still have problems talking with strangers. Say if there's a group of people having some conversation, I can't jump in and start a conversation. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Instead, if they are asking questions to me, or if they're talking something about I know something that I know, for example, if it's
Yeah.
LinkedIn, or if it's about job search, or if it's about migrant journeys over here, I can talk for hours and hours and hours. They can't stop me,
Yeah.
right? So I think having that knowledge and having that urge to share uh,
Yeah.
is makes me comfortable in that area, but I'm not. So I think it comes to being prepared and having something to talk rather than
Yeah.
when you just go in, it's a scary story. You don't know what to do, and phone becomes my best friend then. But
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, I keep talking. By the way, we have a question from Michael. I think Michael is watching both of us.
Sure.
His question on LinkedIn is, with the benefit of hindsight, how significant were your actions in terms of personal branding, despite you not focusing on it? That's a very interesting question.
Yeah. I think I was personal branding, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I just didn't know.
Yeah,
So I think I have maintained quite a good personal brand without being conscious about it.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's the same for me as well. I came to know this fun word or buzzword personal brand very recently, but
Yeah.
it's a thing. Apparently, it's a thing. So that's why I'm following this path as well. Now,
Yeah.
why is personal brand so important, especially these days? Probably, if
Yeah.
you take a decade ago, no one really cared. Brands were associated with big organizations and multinational companies, never
Yeah.
associated to a person or an individual. What's changing, or what's been changing over here?
Yeah. I disagree with that. So I feel like that even if you took 10 years ago or even 20 years ago,
Hmm.
people were conscious of their brand. They just perhaps as well, like I, didn't call it personal branding. So I'll give you a great example. Like if you think about uh, maybe 20 years ago, you're like, just, I'm talking non like technology wise, but think about like the butcher on the corner of the street. So he would want to have a personal brand that he is friendly, let's just say, and that he's approachable and that people can come to him and get all the meat that they need, and have a chat with him, and that they will sort it, sort them out for their dinner, for the week. So I feel like people have been conscious about maintaining relationships and people seeing them in a good light. It just hasn't been involving technology. So
Yeah,
if you introduce
absolutely.
technology, it in a way it makes it easier, but in a way it makes it harder because there's sort of people are saturating our news feeds. So there's obviously a constant flow of information, but in another way, if you choose to be like you are,
Mhm.
in the small minority of people who do videos or even go live on social media platforms, you have such an amazing opportunity to amplify your personal brand and have a lot of people know about that. So I feel like it is something that has been going on for decades. It's just now that we're labeling it, if you want to
Yeah,
call it that.
yeah, that's a very interesting perspective to put it. I think the technology and the platforms that we have today with social media, it kind of exponentially increase the visibility or whatever is happening in that space. So no one has put it in that way. Thanks for sharing that perspective as
No,
well.
that's okay.
So we have a comment from Abnika on YouTube. She's saying we underestimate our strengths unless we go through, which is absolutely right. I mean, I
Yeah.
always say 2 years back I was an introvert, and if I thought 2 years later I'll be doing live interviews with different people. I was like, no way you're going to do it. So
Yeah.
getting out of that comfort zone is really important, and experimenting and being open to new things, I think, is key over here.
Yeah, I think being curious is really important because if you can, it's like I've heard people say, or people have said to me, I'm nervous to go to a networking event. And I will say to them in response to that that if you can think about a networking event as you're almost going like panning for gold, you're trying to go to find out interesting things about people. So you might be going there to connect, to see, are there other people like me?
Hmm.
Are there other people that maybe perhaps further in their journey like me that I can learn from, or that are earlier in their journey that I can share information and help? Or it may be that you just want to hear interesting stories, or you may get a business connection. So I find that if you can maintain some level of curiosity, even with what you're doing now, if you're curious about the people that you get on to your lives, then that can almost help to override and be the focus rather than focusing on anything that you might be thinking that, you know, you're an introvert or anything like that. So I feel like if we can just maintain a little bit more of a curiosity, it can
Absolutely.
help with a lot of things, a lot of limiting beliefs.
Yeah, I keep hearing curiosity again and again. So I think curiosity is on point. You have to be curious instead of sitting back in your comfort zone and hiding behind the curtains. You have to be
Yeah,
curious to see what's out there.
exactly.
Another question from Hari on LinkedIn. She is asking, over time, our interests change. Does that also mean you change as an individual, or you're changing as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for sure. I mean, if I even look, so I've just had a baby 6 months ago, and you know, it makes you reflect on the fact that we were once that small. You know, like it's funny to think about, really. But of course, we change as a person, we evolve, and even in the space of a few weeks or a few months, you can have an experience that fundamentally changes a belief that you hold.
Mm,
So, yes, I think there are always going to be moments in your life. They might be small or they might be really large in terms of it might not make you change the course of where you're going, but it's the seed that's planted that will grow that later makes you change your direction, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
that's well said. I think the word belief is powerful over there, and
Mm,
it has to be questioned every now and then. I mean, to validate if that belief still holds true or not. So that's a
yes.
really point that you put there. Jason asks on LinkedIn, "Hi Emily and Vinesh. Hi Jason. What are the kind of challenges you faced in this journey, and how did you overcome this?" So I think you already touched on a few. So
Yeah.
if you want to share something specific.
Oh, I mean, on the topic of belief, I would say some of the challenges have definitely been self-belief or a lack of self-belief. So I know when I finished my journey of athletics, I felt like there was nothing left for me. So extremely lost, and I didn't know like who was I in the world of that athletics. I felt,
Mhm.
yeah, as I said, very lost. So just trying to figure out what I could be interested in and figure out a different path for me. So I think navigating through a period of where you're feeling lost is another one that comes up a fair bit. So I know I felt it again when I started to lose some of the interest that I had in security. And it can be a bit of an unsettling time. I don't know if you've felt it, Vinesh, but when you have a real passion,
Mm.
it burns inside of you and it gives you the reason why you get up in the morning, and it helps you to get through those tough times. And when that starts to fade, you're you lose that momentum, if
Yeah.
you want to call it that, and you start to question almost everything. And it's sort of this like treading water phase where you're trying to figure out, okay, well, if this isn't what interests me, then what is?
Mm.
And that's when it's really important, at least for me, to I tried heaps of things between the transition of going from a cybersecurity expert to being a public speaking coach.
Mhm.
It wasn't like it was a decision that I made overnight at all, even though it may have sounded somewhat like that. So it was a whole massive amount of exploration, because you also have to let go of that past version of
Yeah.
you if you are changing direction and realize, like, okay, how do I reinvent myself? And what else am I really interested in? Sometimes you have to try a lot of things, and there's a lot of dead ends, and it's okay. I think they're the things that I remember on my paths, and I'm sure I will go through them again in the future if I pivot at some point. And yeah, I think it's about being okay within those moments of uncertainty, and also reaching out to other people, because sometimes you don't have all the answers yourself, and other people do. It may not be that they tell you what to do, but they might have interesting questions for you to think about, or good suggestions, or they can tell you about a particular similar situation that they've been in, which might help guide the way for you.
Absolutely. And I particularly like, people don't see what's happened in the background. They just see the tip of the iceberg. They don't see what journey or how we have become what we are
No,
today. So
exactly.
there is a big hidden story in there, hidden, for everyone.
Yeah.
Now that you know what personal branding is, and you've looked back and you kind of know, okay, these are the things that I was
Mhm.
actually doing in terms of personal branding.
Yeah.
For anyone who's starting new, where do you start? Some people don't even know the importance of personal branding or why they have to get into it. But
Yeah.
what would your advice be on where do people start looking at personal branding?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing that people have to do is to get an understanding of who they are. So, that might be for some people sitting down and writing down things that they hold as values, as an example, or things that they want to be known for. So it might be something like, I know, when I did this exercise when I was in my corporate world, I wanted to be known as reliable. I wanted to be known that I was a subject matter expert, as an example. So it's a matter of writing down and sitting down and having some time to think about, what is it that I want to be known for? What do I want my personal brand to be? So that's one exercise. Then a second exercise is, which is almost equally as important, is validating that with other people. Now, if you're in the corporate world and you don't say, you're not an entrepreneur, then this would be, you could speak to people like your friends, you could speak to your family, you could speak to a boss, you could speak to colleagues, and ask them for their true reflection of who you are. And it might be that you ask them to give you, 5 words or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they can then tell you how they're perceiving you, then the third aspect is to either change that perception. So if they're vastly different, how you believe you are and how you want to be seen and what people will see of you, if they're vastly different, then obviously you need to go about changing that perception. But then there's another bit which I think is more in line with what you perhaps think as personal branding, Vinesh, is raising your personal brand. So if you want more people to know about you, well, you need to do things like post on social media and do videos and get your name out there and go to networking events and what have you. So I feel like I don't see that people have to do that element
Yep.
of personal branding, but if you want to perhaps progress more in your career, or you want more opportunities, then it's important to elevate your personal brand and let more people know about you and how amazing you are.
Yeah, very, very well said, Emily. Thanks for that. A couple of questions on LinkedIn again. Um, how can someone convince others of personal branding at the first meeting? Like if you have certain qualities, you want to highlight them, and they're
Mm.
meeting for the first time. How do you showcase that?
Mm. I think it really depends on what the meeting is. If it's an interview, I think it's quite appropriate to go through those qualities and perhaps some examples of, say, why you believe something or why something's so important to you or how you've got those qualities.
Hmm.
But if it's a meeting where you're meeting up someone at a networking event,
Yep.
I wouldn't even think it's appropriate to go through, oh, by the way, I am this, I am that. So yeah, I think it really depends on the context of the situation. So if the person that wrote that particular comment has a specific scenario in mind, then I'm more than happy to talk to that specifically. But yeah, otherwise, I think it's very
She say
contextual.
Rajinder is saying it's probably talking to a recruiter.
Talking to a recruiter. Okay. So I would say I would be clear on those aspects that you're wanting to talk about, and then have, if you can, have some story that links them. So let's just say that you're wanting to explain that you're really good in terms of time management. Well, how can you prove that to your recruiter? And it may be that you have, I don't know, it could be that you have facts and figures, but generally there might be a story associated. So, you might be able to go back to, when you held a job whilst you were studying, and you had to be very conscious of, managing your time, because you had to go to school, you had to study, and then you had to work, and then you had to perhaps do jobs around at home. So if you can paint the context for people, and almost show them how you have good time management rather than telling them,
Yeah.
that's where it all changes, if that makes sense. So there's this big concept in the public speaking world of show people, don't tell them. And a story is a great way to help someone in some tiny way almost experience and see that you have that characteristic or that skill, rather than you just saying, oh, I'm really great with time management, because that doesn't mean anything. You could say that about anything, and someone needs the proof, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So it comes down to storytelling again. So a related question from Shika again on LinkedIn. What aspects make a story and a speaker memorable?
Oh, so such a good question. So a story is memorable almost without you having to add in heaps of aspects. So um, a story, the reason why a story is so memorable is because generally it evokes an image in our minds. So if I'm talking about how I did athletics, let's just say, you might have a picture, or think about athletics. At least I
I
know when.
think the pink elephant example is the best example.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have done that as well. Yeah, well, that's actually a good one when you talk about the mind focusing
Yeah.
on what you don't want. But yeah, pretty much, like, even if I get everyone who's listening to this or watches on replay, think about the moments in your life where you have, or that you remember the most. If you think about the moments in your life that you remember the most, generally when you go into your memory bank and think about them, you will have an image associated with them. I know when I think about, like, winning state, I have a image in my mind of myself winning state. When I think about things like the day that Zara was born, I remember, the hospital bed, etc. I remember, what she looked like all bundled up as a little baby. So stories link in our mind as images generally, and there's a lot of evidence to prove that images are easier to remember than facts and figures. And apart from the science, I know that this is true as well, because if I think about, and a lot of people that I speak to, if I ask them how many presentations they've been to in their corporate career, almost all of them will say hundreds, if not thousands. Yet when I ask them how many they remember in enough detail that they could share, they are talking a couple.
Yeah.
And so stories just have this amazing ability to stick in our brains. So if you can tell a story to someone and wrap, whether it's a tip that you're wanting to share around a story, or you're trying to share a skill that you have and you wrap that around a story, or some advice and you wrap a story around it, someone will remember everything that you said as well as the story, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of things that I could go through in terms of elements of a story and dialogue and conflict and characters and emotion and all of that. But honestly, if you just start to share experiences rather than facts and figures, you will be way more memorable. People can, if there's something that's almost like a chain of events, that is way more memorable for people, because it's like breadcrumbs. It's like if I threw some breadcrumbs and you follow one and you follow the other and you follow the other, you'll easily get to the destination. And that's what almost I picture as a story in my mind.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it is one of your favorite questions. So thanks for the question, Shiga. I appreciate that. Avnika says on LinkedIn, sorry, on YouTube, people also tend to associate emotions with stories, which is exactly what you touched as well. And
Yeah.
she also has another question: is personal brand and elevator pitch somewhere connected?
Oh, absolutely. If you have 20 seconds and you want to get across what it is that you do, then yes, that absolutely helps with your personal brand. And I know that I have been to quite a lot of networking events, obviously not this year because of COVID, but last year. And a lot of them, they would ask us to get up and give a 30 to 60-second pitch on who we are and who we help. And being able to do that well can absolutely make or break whether someone wants to come up and connect with you afterwards, whether someone finds you interesting enough to seek out your services. So being able to give a good elevator pitch is extremely important to help your personal brand. And
Absolutely.
actually, storytelling can come in handy with that as well.
Hmm. That's interesting, but it would be hard to share a story in 20 seconds. So, but if you are a good storyteller, maybe you can stuff
Oh,
something in there.
I'll actually tell you, it's easier than you might think. And what I mean by that is, when I think of a story in that context, I'm just thinking you need to be telling someone something that happens over time, right? Like what most people do is they will share the what.
Hmm.
They share what they do. It's not, there's no time over it. They will just say, perhaps if I might say to people, I'm a public speaking coach, and what I do is I help people either in private coaching, or I do group coaching, or I have online masterclasses, or I do workshops.
Mhm.
So people generally say what they do,
Yeah.
and what they do is like one thing. What the way you can use storytelling, even in 30 seconds, is to take people on a journey of before and after,
Mm.
and include humans. So you could just say, like I did at the start, I work with people in technology and I take them from a place where they either don't like presenting or they don't feel they're any good, and I help them to move to a place where they're engaging, interesting, influential, and they start to enjoy public speaking. So you can see it's actually possible to tell a very short story of what you do in 20 seconds or 30 seconds.
That's a really good way to say it instead of saying what share a before and after story. So that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Now, again, for people who don't know what personal branding is about, what are you trying to achieve? What's the end goal here? And especially if, say, people sign up for a personal branding course or they start investing time in personal branding, it's not that you do this for a month and yay, it's done. No, it's not like that. So what's the end goal here? I mean, what happens when you do this exercise, for example,
Mm.
and how long do you think they have to continue this to reap some benefits out of it?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm the best person to answer that, because I've never done this consciously.
Yep.
So personal branding is, I've never done a personal branding course, and I've never been conscious that I'm personal branding, if that makes sense. So I would say that the benefits that I have seen of understanding myself better and somewhat marketing what I do out there to the public is that you will be more true to yourself, and that means you'll be happier, you'll be more
Yep.
satisfied, because if you follow more of what you're really interested in, then you will be happier.
Hmm.
I can guarantee it. So the first thing is much more internal, and it's almost priceless,
Yep.
right? Being able to get up every day and do something you really love, that's priceless. So that's sort of the first and the most important thing. The second thing is when you try to elevate your personal brand, which is, I think, more where you're angling at. And if you're wanting to elevate your personal brand, the benefits that people could see are things like you may get, if you're really well known in the industry, as an example, you will more likely not have to do things like apply for jobs. People will tap you on the shoulder. Or when you do apply for jobs, you'll potentially be more likely to get it over someone that isn't so active in the public domain, or that people don't know about. You will probably get more promotions, and it may be easier for you to get pay rises. So there is a translation from the inner benefit of feeling happier to also translate through to a harder benefit of something that could be connected to financial benefits and career progression.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I think I asked this question to Michael, and he said this is more of a lifestyle rather than thinking of it as a short-term thing. So I agree to that as well. So it's a practice. Once you know what
Yeah,
is it that you're happy about, then you just keep rolling with that, and you tend to do more. I mean, you won't keep
yeah,
track that you're doing this, 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 this. You just
exactly.
go full on that.
Yeah, I think 100% right. It's not something that you will think, okay, I'm done with
Yeah,
personal branding.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a destination. It's a journey.
Done it. Yeah, I love that quote. So, obviously, people will make a lot of mistakes on their path. I mean, they will take wrong turns, wrong directions, or wrong whatever it is.
Mm,
So, um, do you have and just to make people aware of this, any
mm.
common mistakes that people do, or something that you have done in your journey?
I would say common mistakes would be people aren't listening to what they really want, and they might be getting swayed by other people. And so there's not really a quote, but a saying that I heard when I first started out in my entrepreneurial journey, and it's easier than it sounds, is to stay in your own lane. So it's very easy to see other people on social media as an example, or even it may be that you see people in your work environment and you think, oh, I want to be like that.
Mm,
And you start trying to become someone that you're not because you think that it's going to get you more likes or more attention or something like that. I think that would be the biggest mistake, is trying to either please other people. And it might be some people's parents are very interested in what they do and what jobs that they get. And I'm really lucky that I've always had parents that are way more the other end, and they're like, just do whatever you want to do. We won't get involved at all.
yeah.
So I was able to go and forge my own path, which was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that just try and be true to yourself and not be swayed by what you think you should be doing or what you think will get more likes. Is just try to be authentic to you, and that's what people resonate the most with.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, that's why this show is named as UV 2.2, or be a
Mm,
better you, or whatever it is, because
mm,
it's all about you. Don't try to copy
exactly.
someone else. I mean, that's not personal branding, and it might work for you short term, but in the end, people will see through it, and it won't be genuine. So being
Yeah,
authentic and being genuine holds a huge value out here, and that's what will make you happy as well. Going through someone else's journey won't make you happy, and yeah.
no,
Yeah. So the way I opened up for all these ideas, personal branding, looking into myself, values that you talk, beliefs that you talk,
mm.
it actually started, or it all started making sense to me when I signed up for a public speaking course. It was not with you, Emily, unfortunately.
Oh,
It was
no,
with
no,
another
no.
coach. It was with another coach. But that's when I started getting a feeling of personal branding. But the shift over here is it's an investment, right? Even if people have to sign up with you or a coach, a public
Yeah,
speaking coach, or a personal branding coach, or whatever coach it is, um, there is a huge investment to it, especially when people don't actually know what they're getting.
mm,
People are a bit hesitant to getting into it. But there is a whole different side to it. So how would you justify someone that investment or that cost to someone who is actually not sure, okay, is this worth it? It's big money. Is it worth it? Should I
Mm.
go for it? So how would you justify that investment?
I would say you don't actually need to spend a lot of money to get your brand out. To be perfectly honest, in this day and age, I'm
Yep,
not a
absolutely.
massive advocate of people needing to. I feel like if if you want to understand yourself, you can do that almost for free. If you want to start putting yourself out there, you can do that for free. If there's elements of that that you want help with, obviously go for that. But I wouldn't say the starting position should be that people need to invest or invest heavily. I feel
Mhm.
like if people understand the basics and not got hung up on the buzzword, is that you need to understand yourself
Yep.
and then you need to let other people know about that.
Hmm.
That's really what it is at its core. And you can, I talked about curiosity before, and another one would have to be creativity. These days, uh, even brands don't have to advertise if they don't want to because of the power of things like social media. So I feel like you can get really creative with how you ask for feedback. Yes, you can pay for surveys to get it done, but you can do it for free. You can elevate your personal brand for free, or you can pay for advertising. You can investigate and just talk to people, perhaps even like you are, about personal branding rather than paying for a course. So I feel like there's always options.
Yep.
Sometimes paying for it can get the results quicker,
Hmm.
and you can somewhat guarantee, obviously, if you look into who's running whatever course it is that you're looking for.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there's options.
Yeah.
I'd hate to say to people, yes, it's costly and they have to go down that
Yeah,
path.
so Google is your friend. That's what I say. You can
Exactly.
find anything if you want to. But just like Emily said, I mean, the thing with Google is you have to research. My wife always says, if she has headache and when she Googles, Google says you're gonna die tomorrow. That'll
Yeah,
be probably the result. So you have to
exactly.
be pick and choose what's coming out there.
Yeah,
We are about to wrap up this conversation. I think we've been talking for 50 minutes now.
yeah,
It just went like that. So we
yeah,
were having fun over here. So if you have any questions in the meantime, please ask us so that we can take it up. Anything else you'd like to share, Emily? I mean, my the questions that I wrote down is done. Anything else
yeah.
that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Oh, look, I think you had a lot of really interesting questions. Personal branding isn't something that, to be honest, I have thought a lot about. Clearly, I spend almost all my time now thinking about all things storytelling, but I think it's it's important if people are starting out in their career to think about which direction do they want to go in and what's going to make them happy. I remember when I wasn't quite sure, like, how do you know what makes you happy? And I
Mm.
remember thinking, like, it should seem super obvious what makes you happy, but at a certain point of time, I do distinctly remember this years ago. I went to a conference, and someone was talking at the conference, and they said, if there's something that you are happy to work on until 3 in the morning, or you're happy to do it for free, that's when it's something you're super passionate about.
Yeah.
And so I took that perspective with me, and I still think about that as I, go forward in life, in that if it's something I'm happy to be doing for free, and it's something that in my spare time I might stay up, till all hours getting curious and fascinated about, that's what really interests me. So I think it's important to be able to figure out what is it that makes me me and what makes me feel alive,
Hmm.
and what sparks joy for you. I think people need to be thinking about that rather than, oh yes, this might be okay, oh I'm good at it, I'll just do that.
Absolutely love that you connected storytelling to personal branding in the end. Again, all we
Hmm.
are saying is it's about you. It's about finding who
Yes,
you are. It's about finding what is it that you like. Every person
yes,
is unique. Every individual is unique. Don't try
exactly.
to copy others. It won't work for you. Take inspiration from
No.
others if you want to, but don't
Yeah,
try to copy it. And it'll that's what personal branding is about. It's just a fancy word, but
exactly.
these are the basics. So I don't think we
Yeah.
have any more questions on YouTube or LinkedIn. Thanks for whoever watched this. Hope you had fun and hope you had a lot of value into it. And thank you so much for your time today, Emily. I know you're a
Oh,
busy
no
person,
problem.
so I trust that we had a fun today. The conversation was really good.
No
So
worries.
thank you for being a part of this.
No, that's fine. And I'll also just add, if people are interested, I have a free masterclass that I've just launched recently. So I don't know if you have an ability to add a link after the live, but
I can
I'll
share that.
I'll
Yeah,
share the link with you, because if people are interested in why stories are so powerful and perhaps how they could leverage storytelling moving forward, then this masterclass will be really interesting for them.
absolutely. If you can share that link, I'll add it in the description for this video. I'll update it so that everyone gets it. Yep. Thank you
Okay,
so much,
awesome.
Emily. So, everyone, have a good evening, have a good weekend. If you're in Melbourne, stay safe, don't go out. Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. But yeah, I'll see you soon then. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Vinesh.
Yep.